Okay, so it's 5:30, so I'm going to call to order the regular meeting for the Planning Commission. Today is Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. The land that we know as Sequim was once inhabited solely by First Peoples known as the Sklallam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Lower Elwha Sklallam, Jamestown Sklallam, and Port Gamble Sklallam. We serve as stewards of the land within the city of Sequim. Oh, hold on, I clicked off of there. Okay. With the city of Sequim, with the same care and consideration the Sklallam tribes has and continues to provide. This acknowledgement is a respect to the Sklallam people and their history. The Planning Commission serves as an advisory body to the City Council. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to provide guidance and direction for Sequim's future growth through continued review and improvement to Sequim's comprehensive plan, zoning code, shoreline management, environmental protection, and related land use documents. The Planning Commission will have all of the powers and perform each and all of the duties specified by Chapter 35A.63 RCW as amended and set forth or amended by ordinance. Roll call. Emily, will you please take roll call?
Absolutely. Commissioner Kuntz.
Present.
Commissioner Cummings.
Here.
Commissioner Fain. Commissioner Habel.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Hewitt.
Here.
Commissioner Lefevre.
Here.
Commissioner Mihalik.
Here.
Thank you.
So let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, approval of minutes. This would be for the December 16th meeting. Has the Planning Commission had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, are there any corrections at this time? Okay, if there's no corrections, we'll take a motion to approve.
Approve. Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, minutes stand approved. Public comment. General public comment will be heard at this time. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. Seeing nobody in the room present for public comment, Emily, is there anybody online that would like to provide public comment?
There's no one online.
Okay, thank you. Then I will close the public comment section of this meeting, and we will move on to general business, but we are going, if the commission is okay with it, we are going to move the chair and the vice chair elections up above the planning commission or the comprehensive plan status update, since we have a commissioner that needs to excuse himself early. So does the commission have any issues with that? Okay, so at this meeting, we will be nominating and hopefully electing a chair and a vice chair moving forward. Is there anybody, and so you can nominate yourself or you can nominate somebody else on the commission. We will start with, does it matter if we start with the chair or the vice chair? Okay, so we'll start with the chair. And the floor is now open for nominations. Do we have any nominations for Planning Commission chairperson? Yes. Okay, for chair?
I nominate Eileen.
Okay.
This is Larry, by the way.
Are there any other nominations for chair? No? Eileen, would you be willing to accept that nomination? Yes. Okay. If there are no other nominations for chair, let's take a vote. All those in favor of Eileen as Commissioner Cummings being the chair, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, congratulations. Yay.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's move on to vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair? Is there anybody interested? Larry? Okay.
Can you be the vice chair?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to be the vice chair?
I would if there's nobody else that is interested, but I would like to see if there's another commissioner that is interested
Thank you for-
because I've wielded power for the last 3 years. So, you
And
know,
I think you've done a fabulous job.
Thank
I mean, you. It was a really challenging year. I was going to wait to say this until after, but my year and a couple months on, you have done a fantastic job
Thank
through
you.
some change, some significant change on the commission and at the staff level. So I would just encourage you to consider
okay.
that option.
Okay. I would like to really explore that position being open to if somebody else is interested. But I would accept the nomination, but I hope that somebody else would like an opportunity.
How about you, Larry? Would you be interested?
I don't know that I have the extra time to commit. So I appreciate the ask, but I don't think I would be a good fit from the time commitments. So I will respectfully say, thank you, but I will pass.
Karen, would you be interested?
I was chair for quite a while, so I would like to see somebody else as far as keeping continuity of other people learning how to do that.
But you have the breadth of experience that carry you a long ways.
We have experience. Would you be interested?
I think I have the same issues as Larry with time constraints and dedication for that. Because there would be an uptick in a workload that I'm not sure I'm willing to take on at this point.
Okay. Alex, how about you?
Same goes for me, maybe double, as you can see tonight.
Okay. Okay, well, I will accept the nomination for vice chair then. For 1 year. Yes. Okay, so all those in favor of Julianne, please raise your hand. Okay. Any opposed? All right. Here we go. Buckle up, guys. All right. So, okay, so we've elected a new chair and a new vice chair. So we will move forward now. Thank you. Yeah, Eileen, we had kind of talked about this and we weren't sure what direction we were going to go as far as turning the meeting over to you tonight. Because I thought my term was up in January, but Carlos says that it's up on Monday. Correct?
Your term is, but Emily, what's the chairmanship? Is that to be done in the first meeting in January?
The election is, yes, but it's up to you if you want to lead your last meeting, like this be your last meeting and Eileen takes over next meeting, or whatever you want to do. There's no set policy.
I'm going to defer to the newly elected chair on her preference.
Why don't you finish out this meeting
Okay.
and I'll do a little prep before the next meeting, be more
Okay.
ready.
Yeah. I seem to remember a discussion a few years ago that it would be the meeting following the appointment of the new chair. just so that there's no surprises or whatever,
Okay.
something like that. But
Okay.
I don't know if that was formalized.
I think we're winging it right now, but we're, okay. So thank you for that, commissioners, and we will move on to, general business. And we will do the 2025 comprehensive plan status update. And then Commissioner Frayne, when you need to leave, please just excuse yourself.
Well, great. Well, I am happy as always to kind of walk through where we're at with the comprehensive plan process, but you probably saw the memo change a little bit from what you saw in 2025, and that's kind of closing the books on the work that you did in 2025 and then setting us up for, our first half of 2026. So the on your status memo, kind of there at the top, all the things that you worked on got distilled down to a few bullet points, but yet they're hefty bullet points. But the main thing is that that last one where we released the Planning Commission red line policy document, and you received an email, I think, on Friday from me, giving you the link to that. So hopefully you had a chance to take a look at it, and we will be spending some time on it, as I mentioned in the email. But I did want to take the moment that to just pause and reflect on that is a big milestone. And so, really appreciate the work that the Planning Commission did this year. Walking through each of those chapters and being, thoughtfully approaching all the policies. That red line version will be on our website, and as I said in the kind of the email, it serves as the foundation for what our public release, the full package, which will be April 1st. So it represents about 70% of the comprehensive plan work. So it's good. It's a good chunk. We still have the capital facility plan that we're working on internally, and the SEPA response, which is a supplemental EIS. Those are the two next bodies of work that staff is working on internally. And you'll see it all together on April 1st. But I did want to note that, that was getting that published and available for you and the city council to take a look at, as well as the public, was a big step forward in the comp plan process. So we're going to turn our attention now for the next 2 months on Title 17, the Land Division Ordinance, which will start tonight, as well as a very specific section of the zoning code, a new chapter 1821, which is a housing focused code amendment. So in your memo gives you the kind of that schedule. It is compressed. There is a bit of work we need to accomplish before the February 17th public hearing. We'll find out tonight how it goes. This can all be recalibrated. So this is like best case scenario. If we can make the schedule, great. If we need more time, we will make that, we will adjust and make that, we'll make that available. This schedule does identify a special planning commission meeting on January 27th if needed. So that's not one of your scheduled meetings. And so you'll have noted, and then as well as in the comprehensive plan that we'll talk about here in a minute, that I've identified special meetings as an if needed or as needed to keep the momentum moving forward. So hopefully we'll use it if we need it, and if we don't need it, we won't notice for it and won't hold it. And then on the second sheet is your draft comprehensive plan, future land use map and development regulation schedule. So again, February and March will be the development regulations, Title 17, and the 1821. And then starting in March, we'll go over the red line version. So this gives you a opportunity to make sure that everything that we needed to capture got captured correctly or satisfactorily. Also, there's opportunities to, again, take a look and make modifications prior to the April 1st release. And then at your second March meeting, if the draft capital facility plan is ready, we'll tackle that. If not, we'll find something else to do that day. There isn't a lack of things to talk about, but hopefully it'll be ready. And then starting April 1st will be our official public release of the comprehensive plan. And so we'll do our last bit of public outreach. So we'll have an online open house, which is soliciting public engagement and comment on the comprehensive plan. We'll have a community open house here. It is on the same day as a planning commission meeting. So my thought on that is to have basically like a planning commission hosted community open house where instead of having a meeting, we're here and available for public to drop in during a certain amount of time. And we're here to talk about the comprehensive plan, and the staff will have set up, maps, and, we'll have it all structured and logistics. And so hopefully just a place for the community to drop in and talk to staff and planning commission about the comprehensive plan process. In what's not on this schedule is also staff will be doing some outreach. I've arranged to be one of the monthly speakers with the Chamber of Commerce. We'll be doing some very targeted outreach. Staff will, as far as letting the community know about the comprehensive plan. So that's, the first part of April, end of March, first part of April. The Developers Forum on April 16th. And then, so it all culminates to a May 5th public hearing. And then staff takes care of transmitting your recommended comprehensive plan package to the city council. And then what's not on this is then the city council schedule, which will follow. We have a whole set of work sessions with the city council on the draft comprehensive plan, and that culminates in a June 8th public hearing. And I will just preface this to say, if all goes well, this is the schedule. So, and when I say that, that just means, we may need to take more time on things depending on how it unfolds, what type of community engagement, what type of questions we might get, what type of concerns. But I'm anticipating it's going to go well, and this is the schedule I'm anticipating.
Okay, thank you. Eileen?
What's the deadline that we promised the state that we would have this in by June sometime, right?
By the June 30th.
Okay.
So that's the date that I told the city council that we could get it done by. That's the date that they would like to have it done by. I think it's feasible. I have let the state know that that's the date that we're working towards. And so that's what we're working towards. Yeah.
Okay. So the city council has already been encouraged to participate in a timely way to get it done by the timeline that we're suggesting.
Yeah, and I've been going to council each month, giving them a status update and
Okay.
talking and letting them know about the schedule. I'll be there on Monday as well, and I'll introduce the schedule to them as well. So it's showing that we can get there by the end of June, and it's it's moderately aggressive,
Mhm.
but we can get it done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you're welcome.
Marla.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know that we already did the elections for the chair and the vice chair, but I do want to mention something before we move on to the land division. I did want to make sure that the commission knew that my term does expire shortly on Monday. So there's a process for reappointment is similar to onboarding a new commissioner, where the position was posted, the opening was posted on the city website. I filled out and submitted the application, and I went in and was asked the same questions that if any other new applicant had applied or did apply would do the same. And so Carla and a few representatives from the city council and Emily were present. They had a debrief, and I might or might not be recommended for reappointment.
You are.
And okay, and I might or might not get, reappointed, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that if for some reason it doesn't happen the way that we all anticipate, which it very well could go either way, you will have to find another vice chair. That's all. I just want to make sure it's all out there so we understand the process so that nobody just assumes that, that this is going to happen. We are in the middle of doing a procedure, I guess. Any questions? Yes.
And since we're just reviewing this topic and just being a stickler for process and procedure, I did review the rules of chair. Eileen is technically the chair at this meeting now, according to our rules of procedure. So
Okay.
just FYI, but being that you are chair and vice chair and you have made an agreement, I don't see a problem with your continuing. But
Okay.
I just want to be clear on the rules of procedure that I don't
Thank
want to
you.
muddy the water with.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So, Madam Chair, would you still like me to proceed running the meeting today?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And thank you, Karen, for that. Okay. Any questions before we move on to the draft Title 17 of Land Division? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. And we'll move on. Carla, do you
I
have
do.
anything for us on this?
I do, yes.
Okay.
So a couple things. We do have PowerPoint, so I'll walk through the PowerPoint that gives you an overview of the Title 17 and the sections that we'll be going through today. Just as the agenda summary sheet, what we're recommending is, as opposed to a page by page, that we go section by section. That might result in still going page by page, but what we did for today is just say these, be prepared to let us know what your questions and comments, concerns are for these 5 sections, and hopefully we can get through them today. I did want to note that I have my co-pilot here with Scott. Travis is missing, and he has a bit of a health emergency. He's doing fine, but he was not able to join us tonight, and I'm disappointed for him because he did a lot of work on this. So he project managed the update to Title 17. He started working on that probably May or June of 2025, and did a very collaborative effort with the Public Works Department, with the legal team. And I'm sad that he's not here to, lay it out, unfold it for you, but we expect he'll be back for the next meeting. So I just wanted to acknowledge that this was his first real significant code work that he undertook, and did a really good job taking a look at reorganizing which I'll talk about here in a little bit, reorganizing the title, bringing it up to current state requirements. And I always have a philosophical approach that there's nobody better to rewrite code than those who've had to live or suffer with it in the past. And so he was able to really take the opportunity to correct a number of things that have caught that ambiguities and lack of clarity, or conflictual language, that he's been able to correct a number of those circumstances within this code. So with that, I'll go ahead and start the PowerPoint, unless anyone has any kind of any questions to that introduction. It's not a long PowerPoint, but it will give you kind of the overview. So next slide. Emily's going to drive for me. So again, tonight I'll talk a little bit about the purpose and give you the overview of Title 17 Land Division, and then we're going to cover 5 sections of it. The first 2 are pretty administrative, and then getting into 17.30 to point 40 and 50 will be more specifics of the different types of subdivisions. So next slide. So this, the purpose of this is it does represent a comprehensive rewrite and modernization of Title 17, and it one of the most striking, most significant, probably a better word, significant response to it is a restructuring of the code, and it provides not only the things the state is requiring us to include in a land division code, but really takes, again, like I mentioned, the opportunity to clarify procedures, relocate technical details, and provide some references to other parts of the code. It's definitely more consolidated, explicit. We think it's more defensible in some particular specific areas. It complies with the new state law regarding unilot subdivisions and administrative lot splits. And it does incorporate the feedback from the development community that we've heard through this comprehensive plan process, through stakeholder interviews that Leland Consulting did, as well as comments and complaints that Travis has heard over a course of a couple of years. So I want to note about this before we move to the next slide is that the rewrite represents the approach that we're taking to all the code throughout this process. So we're starting with Title 17. We're going to do one section of Title 18, which is the zoning ordinance. But again, as I've been kind of sharing over the last few meetings, we have a phased approach to 18. So we'll have another larger section of Title 18 that will go with the comprehensive plan. And then we'll have a third kind of bucket of code amendments. But when we're done, it will represent a full rewrite of Title 18. And one of the things that, once I came on staff and started learning about how the code interfaces with the community and with development, is that I've learned that the code has been updated and piecemealed kind of over the course of many years, specific sections, and that does not always age well. And so the code definitely is ready for a full rewrite. And so you will be seeing that come across your bench over the next couple years. So after we finish Title 18, we'll update and do a full rewrite of the critical area ordinance. In fact, I meant to tell you this in the status update. I'll be meeting with a consultant tomorrow who will be bringing on board to help with the best available science gap analysis that we're required to do for the critical area ordinance, and get that consultant going in February. So this is the first of a number of code updates that you're going to see that's going to represent a full rewrite of the code. So next slide, please. So what I'm hoping to do in the next couple slides is just to speak to you a little bit and compare and contrast on like what the current Title 17, how it's structured and what it says about these things, the things that we're going to talk about tonight, and then what the draft does in comparison to that. So the current Title 17 is a traditional subdivision short plat concepts of subdivisions. This code was very typical of what subdivision codes look like probably 10 or so years ago. So it's not that it's flawed, it's that it just needs to be modernized. One thing that is true, that it does have limited inconsistency between the chapters and minimal cross-references to other municipal code titles that do have influence and have a relationship with the land division ordinance. So the new draft is reorganized in a more logical land division framework, which you can kind of see just at the title page of how each section is laid out. There's a separation between the general provisions, which is 0.10, the standards, and then the division types, and we'll again go through those general provisions in the standards today. And then there's cross references to, again, Title 18, which is the zoning and the zoning and development standards there, Title 20, which is the project permit procedures, and then engineering standards and engineering adopted plans that don't live in our codes, live in a different title in Title 12 and are administered by the Public Works Department. Okay, so before I move on to general provisions, are there any questions on kind of just the big picture of what the ordinance's purpose and attempt, what we're trying to do with the full rewrite? Goodness. Okay. All right. Good deal. Well then, so I have a slide for each of the 5 sections that we're going to hopefully go through tonight. So this is the general provisions. So this slide just outlines what the key differences are. Again, at the new and expanded in the draft, we have a clear statement of authority that references what our statutory authority is, which is RCW 5817. That is the state law that establishes subdivisions and land divisions. So a lot of our authority in Title 17 comes from RCW 5817. And then they're underlined with that is the Growth Management Act. There's some more explicit administrative authority granted to the director as far as process goes. It doesn't necessarily mean review authority, but that the DCD director is responsible for the processing of land division permits. It establishes the resolution, the hierarchy that the state law starts with 5817 and then Title 17. And then we have more expanded definitions. And again, this is mostly to identify the new unit lot subdivisions and the administrative lot splits that came from the state legislature. So the current code has, again, a little bit older definitions, less clarity on administrative discretion and interpretation authority. That for sure has been a source of kind of some tension and some discussions with the development community, as on a project by project basis. So we think that the impact of this is it resolves a lot of ambiguity that's in the current code, and then of course updates the code to what the state, the new state requirements, as well as just kind of modernizing some of the language and the approach to land division. So next slide. So 17.20 is land division standards, and this was actually this section of code presents itself well, but it did take a bit of work on Travis's part because it basically was sprinkled throughout the current Title 17. So it was kind of wrestling and wrangling through the standards that kind of are presented in about 3 to 4 different sections right now into one section, which is what I wanted. I wanted it all to be within one section. So it gives a bit of definitely is an ease of administration if it all lives in one section and you don't have to either know where it lives, which developers often don't know the code like staff does, and so we can put everything together. This is a really important section because this has standards that apply to most of the subdivisions, not all of them, but most of them do. And it's also where the intersection between land division planning and public works and engineering standards lives in this section as well. So street standards, utility standards, even if it's just a statement saying thou shalt install utilities per engineering standards, that all lives in this section. There's also again, some alignment with the Transportation Master Plan, our fire code, Appendix D, which is fire access roads, the standardization of for certification and dedication language, and then the utility undergrounding utilities and frontage improvement expectations. There's also per legal department's request, we've added, and this kind of goes back to the first bullet, some explicit proportionality language. And this is to speak to when a subdivision or a land division comes in and there's frontage improvements or street improvements requirements. There is a case there's case law that the improvements required must be proportionate to the application. Now, that always is difficult to determine, like, what does that mean? And so what we've taken a step is a step in the direction to define it. It's still going to be the city engineer's determination, but there is more language about that proportionality, and it gives a smaller subdivision, like a short plat. Like right now, if you have a lot, like, and this is not uncommon, where you have maybe a larger lot that's like an acre or so, and somebody wants to do a short plat of 3 lots to it, and just for either selling or for potentially, for a family member to build a house on. Like today, the requirement would be full frontage improvements. And that, even in my time here, there's been 2 short plats that, they just weren't able to afford the hundreds of thousands of dollars it would require to do full frontage improvements. This is a balance between, and we'll talk about it when we get there. I'm sure you'll have some questions about this is how the city improves its infrastructure through development, but also balancing that proportionality to, okay, does it merit, is the proportion of creating 3 additional lots merit full frontage improvements? And this was like on a corner lot, so it had sidewalk on 2 sides of it. So these are not unusual circumstances, especially in an area like Sequim where there's still some rural sized lots and it hasn't fully urbanized. So the city attorney was very happy to see that language in there. The city engineer has some criteria for him to consider, and it also gives, again, some expectations and some discussion that we can have with the developer. So I'm really happy with how this section turned out. It's a big step forward for the city and how it can administer that balance between infrastructure improvements and street improvements through the subdivision, when a subdivision or a land division comes in. Okay, so the next section is boundary line adjustments. Our BLAs is how we refer to them, and lot combinations. This, again, the draft code combines boundary line adjustments and lot consolidations into one chapter. It uses, both of them use that same procedure, and so it makes sense for them to be in the same section. It gives a clear application type. It's an administrative approval, so that means I'm the review authority on this after it goes through a review process with Public Works and Planning Department. And the current code it definitely does not provide procedural detail. It has some criteria that in the past has been ambiguous enough to not even know exactly what it means and what it's trying to accomplish in the criteria. So we were able to remove some of that. So Travis and I feel really good about that. This section significantly improves the clarity and administrative efficiencies of these BLAs, so that they should be able to go much quicker if the applicant has everything, has their land surveyor ready to go. We should be able to turn these over relatively quickly. Okay, just a few more slides and then we can move in. So the 1740s minor subdivisions or short plats, and that is this section probably was in one of the better sections that were in good shape from the code. So there wasn't too much updating other than modernizing kind of the procedures, doing some clarifications of the 5-year validity period, the modification pathways, and that's pre and post recording. We have 2 separate modifications to short plats that live in actually 2 different sections of code. So we wanted to clarify that and say, if this thing, look here, if that, then look here, where the current code doesn't have that clarity. The biggest thing is the inclusion of unit lot subdivisions, which does have its own section, which is 1750, but unit lot subdivisions are tied to short plats because that is the mechanism where you would do a unit lot subdivision. So again, we feel like this is strengthened this section with again some of the clarity that we've proposed. And then Next slide, 1750, which is the unit lot subdivision. So this section currently does not exist in the current draft. It's new. It's a new state land division type. It is allows for some cottage housing, townhomes, smaller scale infill ownership models. So it allows for the creation of fee simple lots. It limits these unit lot subdivisions to 9 lots, which again is tied to a short plat and is in the residential zones. So the impact bullet there at the bottom, this is the intent of what the state legislature is hoping the unit lot subdivisions will result in, was that some middle housing, smaller housing units on smaller lots might provide a housing opportunity for ownership opportunities that currently don't exist or aren't utilized. This is a new section that everyone's trying to figure out. So I know that we might have some good questions around that tonight. So I will say that we stuck very closely to the state law on this. We did not deviate too much from it because I don't really know how this is going to play out. It's a new thing for the state of Washington. The language in 5817 was relatively broad, so that's what you'll see in this draft. And I've talked to, in just the last couple of weeks as we were finalizing this, I've talked to a number of planning directors on the unit lot subdivisions, and everyone's doing something slightly different. So I just Travis and I decided we were going to stick as close to the state law for now and see how it unfolds.
So in the state law itself, it specifies non-stacked dwelling units?
Yes. Yeah.
And a minor subdivision is less than 9 also.
It can be no more than 9. A short subdivision, minor subdivision is up to 9 lots.
It's almost a duplicate other than the fact that it's saying you can't do 2-story dwelling.
Yeah, when we get to it, the best way I can describe it is that it provides for footprints, like the diagram that's in the draft. We took that straight from the Commerce Guidance just to help put a picture to what the state at least is saying, what it looks like, because it is basically what it's doing is it's giving you the opportunity to do a short plat up to 9 lots, but not to have to meet density requirements or for those setback requirements, I should say. So you saw in that diagram where a house, like a small unit, can have its lot lines basically coincide with their building footprint. So you don't have to meet setback requirements or lot coverage requirements. So the parent lot still has to meet all of it, which is, and again, those pictures help tell that story, because otherwise it's very confused. Trust me that we've had a lot of conversations and we talked a lot with Leland about it as well. And like I said, I've talked to other planning directors. So it is, what it's providing for is home ownership opportunities in kind of an infill. The way I look at it is it's kind of the new infill approach. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry that, yeah. On page 24, 24 of the draft. And I'm sure we'll get to it. And it also is something too that like Travis definitely spent more time living in it. And so I anticipate there might be some questions that I don't really fully answer, and we can bring those back for him to help through too. But I will preface it to say it's new for everybody. Yeah. Okay, so let's see, what's our next slide? Yeah, so this is just a quick table that walks through just the highlights of what all the previous slides tell you, what are kind of what the differences between the current Title 17 and what the draft 17 looks like. Just in high level, gives you a quick glance at those differences. Then go ahead, Emily. So the next we have just 2 more slides, which is going to walk through our next step. So depending on how far we get today, the next meeting, your next meeting on the 20th, we'll attempt to get through the rest of the ordinance. Then again, as I mentioned, I have programmed a special meeting if we need, and we can see how far we get today and certainly make that determination today or on the 20th if we'll need a special meeting on the 27th. And then last slide just walks through the rest of the up to your public hearing on the 17th. So with that, I'll happy to entertain any questions and then turn it back over to the chair to walk through our sections for today.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so then let's go ahead and we'll start with general provisions. I think you're right. Carla, I don't think we need to go page by page like we did on some other ones, but let's start with this section 17.10. The general provisions. Has everybody reviewed this, and anybody have any questions or any clarification or changes or anything? Okay, we'll do Dennis and then Larry.
Just an easy one, Carla. On page 5 of our draft, where we talk about definitions, there's no space reserved for J or K. And, I don't know if that was on purpose or.
We can definitely add that.
Okay.
That was not on purpose. Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Larry.
When we're talking about the plat preliminary, just kind of says it's a neat and approximate drawing. And in the next section, we're going to talk about, there's kind of some tighter requirements about how it's being done and who it's being done by. So I don't know if you want to tighten this up a little bit and say it's got to be done by a qualified professional, or you have some really good language in one of the future sections about who can do it and what it needs to be done. So just a thought there.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Larry?
Just a kind of a housekeeping note, maybe, on the very first page where we have the DCED acronym
Yes.
capitalized. This is down in 171020. I'm wondering if we should capitalize the phrase above, Department of Community and Economic Development, the D,
Is that in the definition section?
yeah, it's in the administrative 171020A.
In the code, we don't capitalize those.
We don't.
It drives me crazy, but yeah, no.
Yes, Karen.
Oh, I see. Okay. So under 2020, that A there. Okay. But I can double check that. Yeah.
I have a question on the minor subdivision definition, and then we go to subdivisions or major subdivisions. And it would seem that if we call a minor subdivision and give out the definition, then a major subdivision, we would give out the definition, and then a subdivision, we would have a definition other than or major subdivision.
So say that again. I
Mi-
think I know what you're saying. I think
It's just a minor subdivision is defined.
Mhm.
A major subdivision says see subdivision.
Yep.
And when you see subdivision, it says subdivisions or major subdivisions. But it just seems like it's a major subdivision that is defined in a subdivision.
Yep.
Just semantics.
So I think I noticed this and I didn't make the change, but what my thought was is to add the definition to major subdivision, to add a definition there, as well as have a definition for subdivision, but
Yeah,
strike
it just
major.
seems like it's
subdivision.
better than page turning.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? So this is for general provisions. And it's 1710. Goes down to 1710 .05. Anybody else anything on that before we move on to 1720 land division standards? Okay, so let's move on to land division standards, chapter 1720. This starts on your draft page 21 of 55. So how about this section? Starts out with our purpose and our lot standards, goes into street design standards. Yes, Dennis.
I'm still somewhat unclear as to street frontage improvements and the need for a 4-unit subdivision to have sidewalks for one, for a life safety issue. And then also address how would that development do undergrounding of the frontage power if required by the purveyor. I'm a little unclear how that would work through the process. I mean, I think the city engineer would look on either end of the development and say, well, okay, you got a sidewalk coming up here, you got a sidewalk coming up here. Yeah, you got to connect them.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. We've also talked about if there's not a sidewalk, doing a shared use path so that you don't have that abrupt edge that a curb that an end of a sidewalk would create, because there is that because of the way the city's developed with pockets of not having sidewalks, it was giving the city engineer some flexibility on what to require instead of just saying sidewalks are required. So that's under E, D and E. And I'm not sure, let's see. So we're in 030, 1720, 030. So
That would be under E primarily.
the exceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is new. This is what is new. So right now, E doesn't live in there. And that's what I was talking about earlier, is giving some opportunity for the city engineer to determine. And again, it may not be required at the discretion. And the city engineer needs to provide some written reasons for it. So it's not just a magic wand that developers might want to utilize, but that, there needs to be some rational reasons that the city engineer is documenting. And so those 1 through 4 are some of the some of those criteria that the city engineer will look at. So the way it works is frontage improvements are required. And then E says accept, and then that's the accept that gives the city engineer the opportunity to accept that out. And then 1 through 4 are the things that he's going to consider when making that exception.
Okay. Then does the city engineer also have the authority to waive the requirement to underground the utilities?
Yeah, I think that is a good point, and I did kind of flip to that when you brought it
And
up.
that is actually under,
070.
yeah, 070.
And
3. A3, I think it is. Must include, yeah, unless exempted by the utility provider. So it doesn't even address the city engineer's authority to maybe
Okay.
waive that requirement too.
I will say that I'm less familiar with that part, but I do appreciate what you're saying because again, it's that balancing between the city has a policy and wants to see undergrounding of utilities, and they're often expensive and
Very expensive.
depending on the size of the short plat, for example, is that a proportionality requirement?
Right.
And so I will make a note and we can loop back to Public Works and
Okay.
that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Larry, did you have some?
was just gonna also comment on the underground utilities. It seems like 3 and 1 could, bullet 1 and bullet 3 could be combined into one bullet.
Or 070,
Yeah,
A1.
070,
A1 and A3 could be
A1 and
combined.
A3 look like they could be combined. It
Okay.
looks like maybe one was added at a later date. But they read almost identical.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a quick question about, just for clarification, when we were talking about frontage improvement requirements and the exceptions. So would like an example of that be, so on West Quimby Road, there is like in front of, there's a dental office and a funeral home and another little kind of business area. And there is it's not a sidewalk, but it's like a paved
Yep.
path.
Yep.
Well, if somebody, maybe wanted to develop the property kind of right on the other side, it would seem kind of awkward to put a full sidewalk there. So would that be like,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, and that
Okay.
was one of the things that we talked to the city engineer about, was that, and we see it come up in development proposals too, where it's like, there's no sidewalk around, there's a paved path. It makes more sense to connect the paved path, because I mean, I know you all appreciate this comment, but sometimes we get lost in the code application instead of solving the
Mhm.
problem.
yeah,
Solving the problem is pedestrian access and safe pedestrian access. How can we still get that, even if a sidewalk, if it can't be a sidewalk, or it shouldn't be a sidewalk for the reasons that you talk about? Because we've had those conversations of like, okay, if we require a sidewalk, how do we taper it down? How do we ensure ADA access? How do we ensure stormwater? Like, it all then opens up a whole other conversation that you're talking about, just logistics of this built sidewalk that connects to no other sidewalk.
right. And so I mean, in my own opinion, I feel like in that situation, a sidewalk in that particular spot would not be the right solution.
Right.
The paved path would be. So this is giving, the flexibility
Yes.
to say this is the best solution without getting lost in the code.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Because there have been circumstances where the city has said a sidewalk's required, and then a developer is like, well, okay, and then like walks away. So, right, again, allowing
Mhm.
for those practical, common sense approach to those circumstances. Having said that, we still want sidewalks in the city. And
Right.
when it's appropriate and makes sense, the city engineer is going to require sidewalks, right? So again, it's finding that balance between these little parts of the city that haven't developed at that urban amenity piece of a for sidewalks. But that's still the goal: safe sidewalks, and then second goal is pedestrian access.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so on section 1720, any other questions at all? No? Okay. So nothing on monument surveys, construction of improvements. We're all good? Okay. All right, let's move on to chapter 1730, boundary line adjustments and lot consolidation. How about this one? I feel like this might be one that the commission has questions on. Anything? No? Really? Application requirements or anything? Application types? Okay. Decision criteria? Anyone? Recording required? Okay. All right, let's move on to chapter 1740, minor subdivisions. How about this one? Anything, nothing on application type, general standards, application requirements? Approval criteria?
Carla, just a general, on the minor, you cannot, go back to the first page. It talks about the 5-year, may not be further divided on a minor subdivision within a. Yeah, I know without asking, I probably shouldn't even ask, are they actually trying to do this to refile within a 5-year so they avoid the major subdivision requirements by filing minor on top of minor?
Yeah, I mean, I've had applicants that have
That-
tried to do
yeah.
that. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Although I think, I mean, just to refine that, so what, and I think it says it in there that if you do a minor subdivision that's less than 9 lots, you can come in and you don't have to have that 5-year rule to fully develop out to 9 lot or to subdivide to 9 lots. So if you came in for a short plat and did 5 lots, and then you came in within that 5 years, you still have the opportunity to do up to 4 more lots. And that also could be through a unit lot subdivision too. But the maximum is 9 lots. Mhm. Yeah, and some, yeah, yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on this? No? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to chapter 1750, unit lot subdivisions. How about this one? Anything on the development standards, questions or anything?
The picture gives you a little bit more visual on kind of what I was trying to explain earlier. What I think might be more of what we will see in Sequim might be example 1. Maybe not. Maybe, if a lot's large enough to have a single family house and then a triplex in the back, something like that. ADUs can be, you can have if you have an existing ADU, or you can create an ADU if you want to sell it, you could use the unit lot provision for that, although it gets cloudy, which I will not bore you with, but believe me, when you say lots of planners, even the brightest mind planners out in the world right now are unclear on how kind of some of the ADUs and the unit lots intersect with each other. And when I'm talking like consultants, like the consultants that wrote the commerce guidance. So when I say again that it's a brand new provisions, I took a very conservative approach to it and just had Travis write it very closely to the state law.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
So state law requires an HOA for unit lots.
It does. I know. Believe me, when Scott, who has done planning in other states, he and I were just talking today, like the joke I'm making is like, yes, the state legislature got into zoning code writing in the last few years. Yeah, so they do require, if you're going to use a unit lot, that it's either commonly owned or an HOA is the terms that the state law uses for all the property that's not in a unit lot and or not on a parent lot. And I'm not even totally clear on how that works, because it feels to me like on example 1, the parent lot, which is the single family house, should be able to own that land. So the commonly owned land would be kind of the perimeter land. So again, it's unclear how some of this is going to unfold it was let's just say this. So the unit lot subdivisions is something that was, in my understanding, has been employed by the city of Seattle and for many years. And so when the state legislature took on zoning code writing, they used city of Seattle and kind of like the metro areas as their template for a number of the requirements. And some of them we don't even have to, luckily we don't have to do because we're not a large enough city. But unit lot subdivision came from, I think, in concept and in a number of these standards from what City of Seattle's doing. That's my understanding. And so it is intended to put as many units on a lot as possible. And I think that it is to also open up home ownership opportunities. And so I do think that it is, I think there for Sequim, I do think we will see it used for extended family, for families and extended families. What I think more metropolitan jurisdictions are seeing is literally how many units they can get on a lot, and to provide a fee simple subdivision, a subdivision process that gets to a fee simple lot that can be sold. That's not a condominium.
So I have a question. So it says, when I'm looking at applicability and it says a unit lot subdivision may be used in any zone that permits residential uses. So this could be something in like a mixed use.
Yes.
Okay.
So it would be the R48, soon to be R49, the lifestyle district, the community mixed use, the downtown. Yeah, so it would be for downtown. So anything that does allow for residential, which is most of our zoning districts, except like regional commercial
Right.
and highway commercial and HTLI. Those do not allow for residential uses, but most every other zoning district allows for residential uses.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Eileen, and then Larry.
So does the state know how dysfunctional HOAs are? And how, I mean, I live in one, so it was my personal experience, and I have lived in them. But there is no guidance, there is no oversight. There is a bunch of craziness that goes along with HOAs. Did they give a reference point of someone to help guide them, or who even legislates or oversight? There isn't anybody. Nobody.
No, I mean, sorry, was
No, I just was reflecting on my recent deep dive into an HOA and I thought the same thing. Like, wait a minute. Like, yeah.
Well, if you run across, if we're going to have people saying they want to do this and they want to establish an HOA, it would be nice to know what direction to point them, because I don't think there is one.
right. The CCNRs help provide some framework. And so this does have C there, which requires CCNR. So that does help give a framework. That's not a perfect solution by any means. I'm sure Karen's nodding her head. I'm sure Dennis too. Like, I have dealt with, as I'm sure you all have, like dozens and dozens of HOAs with CCNRs that I reviewed myself as the planner on those subdivision, and it still doesn't take into account every case that comes up, that question that somebody has, or mostly to like what I think you might be referring to, Eileen, is just people trying to manage themselves. Like, that often causes concerns. But what we might be able to do, and is in my experience, was that the planning staff did review CCNRs as part of the final recording procedure, and that I there have been times where I believe that I personally helped future HOAs by catching a number of things that were in a CCNRs that like they just had some attorney draft. The developer just had some attorney draft to CCNRs that probably didn't even have experience writing it. So I like to believe that we'll be able to have some help in improving those, but it also adds another thing that we have to do that developers are probably going to complain about. But I do know that having planning eyes on CCNRs that can know the code and know the project and also understand that when HOAs are left alone, they usually come to the planning department to ask questions so that we can help future HOAs too. But you're not wrong.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any more questions on this one? Yes,
I
Larry.
don't want to make an observation because I know I hear and I feel what you're saying about this, but I think what helped me get through this is something that you and Travis said at the very beginning is we just need to provide the opportunity within the letter of the law. We don't need to try to change the letter of the law. So these are probably, as you said, it's going to be, I've got a rental unit on my property, or I have 3 rental units on my property. I'm never going to sell it to those people, and I will never have to have an HOA, right? As long as I continue to maintain it. And so that's what helped me get through what probably seems nonsensical for here, but works very well for an urban area. And I just kind of want to thank you guys for walking us through that and saying, hey, we just got to follow the law.
Right. No, that's such a good point. In fact, it's similar to a conversation that Scott and I had earlier today too, which is a lot of this and then the housing ones that chapter 1821 that we'll be bringing forward to you in a couple weeks not all of it makes sense for Sequim, and that's because we're a small city that is and the state legislature did not consider small cities when they got in the zoning code writing business.
Well, when you think about when I drive home, I'm going to drive by a bunch of vacant land as opposed to if we were in Seattle
Yes.
or Tacoma, we're probably not going to see one vacant lot between,
Yes.
City Hall and our homes. So I think we have to kind of keep that in mind is there's plenty of land, buildable land.
Yep.
You pointed out a couple meetings ago, we got more capacity than the other cities and you're taking on some of their stuff so
Yep.
that you can barter and trade. Well, no, I mean, we
Yeah.
really have a good
We're in a good
land
position.
situation.
Yes.
For
Yes.
available land. If somebody
Absolutely.
builds it, that's not on us either.
That's exactly
Right?
right. Yep. No, I think I love your points, Larry. You're exactly how I think about it. And when I look at those, diagrams on there, to me, that looks like infill. And that's like Larry says, we have easier land to develop in Sequim than infill. So what this does is just provide the opportunity for probably some homeowners that want to add an ADU or have an ADU and they're like, oh, well, instead of renting it or Airbnb it, I can sell it. Like in the past, that wasn't an option. You couldn't meet setback requirements and lot coverage requirements the way this allows you to do, where you basically can put a property line concurrent with a building footprint. So you could do that through the condominium process, but this provides a fee simple conveyance. Now, I do have a question. Like, I don't know what the land title companies are going to do with all of this because this is all new for state of Washington land title companies. So I'm curious, maybe they all have to talk to Seattle and figure out how they've been doing it there for years. But if I was a land title company, I'd be like, you want us to do what? But I don't know. So we'll find out. We will find out together.
Okay, anything else on this? Yes. Dennis.
I've read a few codes in my life and I think this is really clear and well done by staff. So
Great.
kudos to you and
I love hearing that from you,
your
Dennis. Thank
teammates
you.
and Travis in particular.
Thank you.
So I do have a question. So about this subdivision of the lots, having the parent lot.
Ah.
So what if you, what if there was already, so since this is now, going to be Washington law, what if you already have a lot that is managed by an HOA? Would they have to update? I mean, how does that work? Just asking. I mean, would they be required because it's Washington state law now?
Read this and I'll hand it to you. So I'm just reading from, let's see here. Actually, go ahead.
One of the things we dealt with in Arizona, which is all HOAs, is one of the questions that came up, and I don't know. What if the HOA says no ADUs? Because if that was the case and you had a subdivision up in Rolling Hills and they had in the CCNRs, no, there's no ADUs allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Not that anybody could fit anything in my backyard, but
Right.
just saying, that's the other thing that came up. And
Yeah.
so sometimes cities can't block the states, but a CCNRs can.
Okay.
So something to think about.
But
I
could
think-
they stop you from dividing your lot? You know what I mean? Like, let's say you, allowed. I see. Yeah, okay.
Right. So
Interesting.
I was just trying to think. I thought I read something, but I am not finding it that said that HOAs could not prohibit lot subdivisions. But I'm not finding it totally. So hold that
Yeah,
loosely.
Yeah, well, and this is probably going to shake out in the next couple of years and
Yeah. It does say that portions of the parent, so all, let's see, so all cities, towns, and counties shall include in their short plat regulations procedures for unit lot subdivisions allowing division of a parent lot into separately owned unit lots, right? Which is what we're talking about. Portions of the parent lot not subdivided for individual unit lots shall be owned in common by the owners of the individual unit lots or by a homeowners association comprised of the owners of the individual lots. So if you are in a subdivision that already has a HOA, I think that sets there. And so then the question is then do you create your own HOA or do you have a commonly owned, or do you have like a commonly owned agreement among the unit lots on that individual lot? And I probably would lean like if I was doing it, like I would do that and say, okay, I'm coming in for a unit lot. I'm part of an HOA. My HOA doesn't prohibit me from doing this. I'm not going to create a separate HOA, but I am going to have a commonly owned agreement that we all have to sign and agree to how we're going to manage the commonly owned property.
okay.
But I'm guessing. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, we'll probably see this. It'll go through some growing pains over the next couple of years.
I think so for sure. Yeah, and I think and like I said, I think what just on a side note here, because it's not totally germane to our conversation, because it appears to me that this language is is again really close to the state law, and there is like, well, what about this, and how does this, and some jurisdictions have added more to it that I think there's the possibility of a inconsistent application of the unit lot subdivisions until it gets sorted out, which, as you know, most things that get sorted out in land use is in the courts. So we'll see. This does remind me of like when GMA first got adopted and we spent the first 5 to 8 years figuring out what some of it meant in the courts. So the unit lot subdivisions might be one of those.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else on this? Okay, all right, are we ready to move on to chapter 17.60?
Oh, you guys are done. That was your assignment.
Oh,
Was
okay.
through 0.50. Unless you did read it, unless you went on. Nope. Okay.
Okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I know the memo said to stop at 0.50, and so the next meeting will be the rest of the ordinance.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions or anything before we close it out on that?
Just an observation. It was interesting that the development standards applied to the parent lot in a unit lot, but they don't apply to the unit lots within the parent lot,
Right.
which is a lot of leeway.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. Yep. And like I said, like I mean, you're keying into it. Like I don't really. I'll just be honest. Like I think Travis has got it more absorbed in his mindset because he spent more time working on this and reading the code and reading MRSC and reading the guidance and talking to Leland Consulting. Not to say I wasn't part of all those things, I was, but he was immersed in it more. But it, like I said, it's when I started talking to other planning directors about 2 weeks ago, it was like it was clear that everyone has a little bit of a different approach to it. And what they're going to allow and what they're not going to allow.
Okay, well, thank you. And
Thank
please
you.
send our thanks to Travis and our well wishes.
Yeah, thank you. We will.
All right, anything else on that before we move on to director's report? Okay.
I don't know if
Any-
I have one. I had a moment
okay.
where I was like, oh,
I mean, you've covered a lot tonight. So
I guess I will just note that I'm keeping you updated on the master plan moratorium. So we will be I will be bringing forward a request to the city council at the 26th city council meeting, so the second one this month, to do a 6-month extension to the moratorium. That does require a public hearing prior to the adoption of a 6-month extension. As you know, we need this time because we're doing the code and comprehensive plan clarifications that are needed as part of the process we're doing now. So it will align with the comprehensive plan process. So that will be happening, later this month.
okay, thank you. Larry, do you have anything?
I'm probably going to ask until Habitat for Humanity breaks ground. Are they on track, and are they at risk of losing that grant?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. I'm just trying to remember. They did come in, so they're mobilizing. They met with Travis and Nick, our city engineer, in early December. They are preparing their site construction drawings. And when I say preparing, I don't know how far along they are with that. They also have met with our Megan Euchre, who is the grant manager for the CHIP grant, and she has communicated with them their timeline to ensure that they keep that CHIP grant alive and well for them.
Okay, so we assisted in getting the grant, but we're not administering any kind of timeline for the grant.
We are, in the sense that, let me think how to say this. So it is a city grant. The city did get the grant to be utilized for the Habitat for Project. It does have a timeline on it, which is basically an end date. And so Megan, who's super detail oriented, has communicated and met with them, like, certain milestones. You need to be moving towards getting certain milestones and to be on track to ensure that you can expend the grant. So the city's in an interesting position where we're not the project manager, we're not doing the construction, we can't control all of their work, but we do we provide the reimbursement through for the infrastructure improvements that the CHIP grant is for. And so there does need to be coordination between the city and Habitat. So I would say the best way I would characterize it is they're mobilizing, and it all signs appear that they are moving forward.
Okay, but they have to expend, then they get money back.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that is what I understand is the construct is they have to spend, we reimburse, then we invoice the state. So I think that there's let me rephrase that. I think the way it works is they submit the invoices, then we submit the invoices to the state, we get reimbursed, and then we reimburse them. I think that's how that works. I don't think the city outlays any dollars. I think we wait till we get the state dollars and then we send that to them.
Is there a hard deadline for that, for when it expires?
Correct. There is. It's in, I think it's June 2027.
Okay. So does their project have to be completed by June 2027?
The specifics to the milestones, like because it's only infrastructure improvement, the project as a whole doesn't have to be done, but
Okay.
it has to, what it's doing is installing utilities and
Okay. Okay.
there's more to it. I believe there's actually street, frontage improvements and street improvements as well. So it's all under the kind of the bucket of infrastructure improvements.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that for director's report? No? Okay, we'll move on to good of the order. Does anybody have anything for good of the order? No? Okay. Then let's move on to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. None opposed. Meeting adjourned at 6:57. Thank you.